So today I'm interviewing Kim Krause Schwalm. She's an A-plus copywriter. She eats male and female copywriters for lunch.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my story. I try to just keep it short and sweet. I mean, I could go on and on, but that's my background. So yeah, that's why, I feel like I can bring a perspective about not just writing successful promotions, but all the things you have to do kind of behind the scenes. You need to really know your market and your audience. You need to understand what the USP or the unique selling proposition of whatever it is that you're selling, or writing copy for is. All these things happen, the research, getting all the credibility boosters, getting all the, things you need before you even sit down and write a word of copy.
Sure.
How do you find that big idea? All those things. So, so I think that's what's really helped me be successful as a copywriter.
Awesome. What's the number one in the key to taking your results to another level?
So, I'm kind of winging this with you right now because you and I didn't have a chance to
on the fly.
I don't know. I have no idea what questions you're popping at me. But if I had to answer that, number one, I would say, and I kind of alluded to this already, is just what you do before you even start writing, right? So you want to make sure if there's a guru behind your product or the president of the company, if it's like a small company, if it's, an investment advisor or expert, whatever it is, the formulator, behind a particular supplement, try to interview that person. Find out. That's where you dig so much of the gold that you're going to use in your copy, later. That's how you're going to start to figure out how you're going to position this. What is that USP? Is there some kind of big idea here that you can bring to the forefront? So it's that whole research stage. I have been known on many occasions when I'm writing for a supplement to get a list of maybe 100 or so buyers, repeat buyers of the product. And I call and personally interview them. And I say, hey, I'm Kim Schwalm. I'm, doing a research survey for such and such company. I'm not selling anything. Do you have a few minutes just to answer some questions? And, at least half the time the people will actually talk to me if I can actually catch somebody at home. And if I can complete 8 to 10 of those surveys, at that point I have my avatar. Sometimes I have some amazing testimonials even. I just have some really great stuff to work with. And then there's just pouring through. If you're doing an investment promo, obviously you're looking at all the, what are the different, investments that have been made, what's the portfolio performance, what are some stories or stock stories you can come up with. But again, most of what I've been doing lately is supplements. So I am digging through, PubMed, NIH database, looking at studies till my eyes blur over, and not just settling for a freaking abstract, but going deeper, like where I need that full text study. I want to, really, I'm Googling, what the hell does this term mean or that, just so I can put it down into 5th grade level words, right? So, that research phase is huge. And then, and I really suggest you don't hire that out to somebody. I mean, I have made that mistake before. I've gotten 40 pages of useless gobbledygook. And it's that's when I get my ideas. And I start keeping a file open and I'm throwing my ideas in there. And that's where I think, wow, that could be the big idea, behind the promo.
What would you say as a follow-up to that when your client is the star? How do you pull out that nugget, the main nugget or a few nuggets? We all know the story of John Carlton and the one-legged golfer. He didn't get that right away, and then one day he was talking to, whoever the guy is at OHP, and all of a sudden he's like, one day, I saw this one-legged golfer, and he's like, wait, what did you just say? One-legged golfer?
Yeah.
So, and I know with me, in email, when I started working with Revolution Golf, I interviewed Justin Tupper, the CEO, and I dug all the way to the beginning, 4 years old, his first time, swinging a golf club. So what kind of advice do you have when, your client is the star?
Well, I think, you kind of hinted at it there. I think the more you can talk to that person, and the more they're really willing to talk to you, the better. You don't always have the luxury of that kind of time, right? I don't know in detail, John Carlton's story in terms of how he found that, but that might have been, after he wrote 2 or 3 things for this guy, and then they just happened to be having this conversation. But I like to do at least a 1 to 1.5 hour discovery call with somebody, and I prepare my questions in advance. I do my research before the call. I get them the questions in advance, but yeah, I also obviously leave a lot of time for those free-form questions or things that I follow up on that sound interesting. It's almost like you're being a newspaper reporter,
Sure.
talking to your source, and you're like, ooh, that's interesting. Can you expand on that? But yeah, you have to be able to pull that stuff out of people. I will just, a little side story. I think many people might know about Clayton Makepeace, right?
Right.
And he's a great copywriter. And I was at Phillips Publishing, or actually, right after they launched the Health and Healing newsletter, which was the first alternative health newsletter. And then that's what created the opportunity for me to help them launch that supplement business. But Clayton, before he wrote this promotion, and this was going to be, I think it was like the first alternative health newsletter, he flew out to Newport Beach, California, and spent practically a whole weekend, or at least a full day, just hanging out with Dr. Julian Whitaker, who was the guru and editor behind the product. And he came back and he wrote this blockbuster promotion that, did amazing. But I think it's because he was able to really crystallize and inject this passion and this, that he's on this crusade and like what he could do for people, and the personality and the voice into the promotion. And he just basically absorbed as much as he could in those 24 or 48 hours of Dr. Whitaker.
Awesome. So that's key number one, is the research.
Yeah.
What would you say once you have that all, what would be the second key?
The second key is just to start writing. And, you could, sometimes you start with headlines. Sometimes you start with the lead. Sometimes I just start writing stuff. I could start in the middle. I could start at the end. I have a very organic process. I have a huge pet peeve about, there's some companies who require copywriters. In fact, I was just talking to one of my mentees the other day who was in this position, to submit their headline or headlines before they even write the copy. And I think that's just insane. And I don't have to explain it to you, but it's like sometimes you get on that first draft, full draft, and you're like, wait a minute, there's my headline, right?
Yeah.
Or wait, I need to take these first 5 paragraphs out, and now I've got a stronger lead, or whatever, or maybe move this up to the beginning. And so I've literally refused, even after negotiating, because these people are like stubborn. I will not write copy for you if you require me to do that process, because that is not my process, and that it's not. It's like it's an idiotic process. I'm not going to hold back on that. But yeah, so I think a lot of people get writer's block, or they just oh my God, this is my first big break. Keep swipe files. Start studying other promos. Get it so it just kind of flows out of you. One of my favorite things I like to do is, after I've absorbed all this research and I got all this stuff going on, I just freeform it. Like, I just start writing. How would I explain this to somebody if I was talking to Jason Henderson? Just start writing. Right. No editing, just, and sometimes it's like, that's pretty damn good, So you can do that. It's sort of like the improv approach, right, to writing copy. Or just write something simple like the freaking order form, especially if it's like an offer-driven promotion. That's going to really help you crystallize, like, what is the best possible way to present this offer, right? So you're going to crystallize that on your order form. Then it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to just carry this through my email or whatever it is that I'm writing, like, and so maybe you just write the order form first, or, you just write a bio sidebar. Just write something, because as soon as you start writing something, it's like, okay, writer's block is gone. I'm doing okay. I got something accomplished. I don't have to feel like crap. Nice. And we've all been there, right?
Totally.
We've all been there, like, oh.
All right. So we've done a research. We've gotten started. What would you say would be the third key to taking those results to the next level?
Well, there's probably more than 3. So I can think of a couple. These are tips. These are things that I do. A lot of times, if I can, I have somebody who's my avatar read the copy. And I'm like, does this make you want to buy it? Right?
Right.
So get people to read it, who are ideally your avatar. The second thing is, or the third or fourth thing is, and probably people have heard this, but, never send it off before you've slept on it at least a night. And sometimes you want a couple days away from it. And then you look at it again fresh and you're like, oh, you know what? I could do this. Or, oh, there's my buried headline. Or, oh,
Right.
So, don't rush through it and send it off like at the end of a long and weary day. Look at it afresh and keep making edits. And, you're going to find that you'll make it, 99.9% of the time, you're going to be able to make it stronger.
Awesome. Oh, I know. Shlomi Shraga, he's a student of mine. He writes to the female market, specifically diabetes, and he was wondering about, do you have any tips for his tone, talking and language, talking to women versus men?
So I think he should adopt the tone potentially. Well, I don't know who his spokesperson is, of the letter.
Right. I don't believe I believe he's the spokesperson. It's his mom. The story is about his mom, but it's coming from his voice. So he's
positioning himself as the son.
Right.
Then I think, he should be whoever that, most women, like, who would they want their son to be? You know what I mean? Like, they want them to be respectful. If it's coming from a guy, it's a lot different. Like, if you're going to start talking about weight gain, with diabetes, things like that, you have to, maybe he just needs to be very empathetic about his mom. See, it's gonna really vary depending on who, what you're talking about. Like, I think that's a very unique situation that you're describing, like a son writing to a prospect about his mother's story. But I would say be very empathetic. Make himself kind of like he's trying to be the hero to help his mom, and he found this thing that helped her, so he wanted to get it out to the world to help as many other women, and his mom said, hey, God, this is amazing. Well, I don't even know what the product is, but you've got to share this with other people, and so that's why he's doing it. It's kind of like, I saw what this did for my mom, and I just really appreciate how much she's done for me her whole life and how she's sacrificed. Because, us moms are martyrs, right? Yeah. My kids owe me so much. Kids, do you hear that? They're off in college. But, so I would take that tone. As far as, a lot of times women like to buy from other women. So if you have a choice, maybe have a female spokesperson. But I like the idea of the son and the mom story. I think that's really nice.
Nice.
Women, but the thing I have found is that, we're all humans, right? Whether we're male, female, transgender, black, white, whatever we are, right? We're all humans, and we actually respond to a lot of the same strategies, the same emotional hot buttons, So it's not, I've had successful controls for prostate supplements, even though I don't have a prostate, Right. So, I think we can all get into the mind of that prospect and speak to them, in a way that resonate.
Awesome. I'm curious, I had a question. How much does the existing results, or in your case, the existing control, come into play in your research?
I typically look at it if it's been successful, for a while. Sometimes people are like, oh, we've got a control, but it's really weak. It's only been, hasn't been really working that well. But it's more from the standpoint of how am I going to beat this, and I have said this before, like in some of my training programs, I do talk about look for the weaknesses in the control. A lot of times you're going against pretty darn good controls, and the reason that maybe somebody hired you is because after having used this particular control for a while, it's starting to fatigue, because no matter what, great promos do eventually fatigue, and that means that they're not generating as strong of a response as they once did, because people have seen them multiple times. So yeah, but you do want to look at the control, see, what could I do better there? I see an opportunity that they missed, and maybe that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to bring that more up to the forefront. So I would look at it from that standpoint. I do have kind of a funny story, because I actually had control for quite a while for, I think it was a memory supplement, and it did get beat. And so I was looking at the new promo, and I was like, oh, it's exactly what this person did. I don't know who did it, but there were some things that I probably could have brought more to the forefront, and then this person seized on that. So it was kind of the same kind of thing. I do it to other people, and it happens to me. What goes around comes around. But no, it's a smart strategy to use.
Cool. I had another question, but first I wanted to talk about the live copy intensive and mastermind that I'll be going to attend in Washington, D.C. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this is something that just came up quickly. I'd been knocking around in my head for a while, and then just a week or two ago I decided, that's it, I'm going to do it. So it's going to be... Oh, somebody else talking, or?
Nope, I switched the screen, so now you're a circle, and on the screen is the actual letter talking about it.
Okay, perfect. I'm so glad that that's working now. So yeah, it's a 2-in-1 event. The first day is going to be me spending the entire day with, it's going to be limited to about 24 people. We're going to be going deep into my whole system for writing controls, and we're going to go deep into research, finding the big idea, headlines, leads, fascinations, offers, closes, the whole thing. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to break down several of my most successful controls, and I've had controls that have, beaten Jim Rutz, the late Jim Rutz, have beaten Paris Anthropoulos. Actually became the first female copywriter to get a boardroom control. I have controls that have mailed for 8 or 10 years or longer. So I'm going to narrow it down, and we'll pick some maybe different types of products that we will go deep into and talk about, here's my strategy here, here's why I did it this way, and blah, 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 all those other things.
Right.
So that's day one. And then if the cherry blossoms are blooming, we might go and see the cherry blossoms in the late afternoon, which is just quite a sight at the tidal basin. And then day 2 will be an all-day mastermind. And in the morning, we're going to be doing very hands-on copy critiques. I'm expecting every attendee to bring a draft of copy, or it could be a promotion that's currently mailing. It could be a company that's using this promotion. It could be, something they've written, but they want to try to make it better. And we're going to do live copy critiques. And it's going to be me and possibly one other person in the room besides you, potentially. And so they're going to have a lot of, have people giving them specific input on how to improve those promotions. So they're going to walk out by the end of the morning, you'll have an improved promotion. Then we have a panel of guests coming. We have Richard Armstrong, who is a top A-list copywriter both for financial and health, and he's been writing copy for more than 40 years. He's won he's won awards. I mean, he's just a first-class nice guy.
And he's a comedian.
I'm sorry, what?
And he's a comedian, or at least he plays one on Facebook.
Yeah, well, he's a published book author. I mean, like fiction
That's
type
true.
books. And he has one that's just coming out. So yeah, he's a Renaissance man. And then we also have Lori Howler, who is one of the best-known graphic designers in the country, and she has designed many of my controls, as well as controls for Agora and other major companies, and even Oprah. And she also gets very involved in the whole strategy of direct response with everything she works on. She's even been known to write a little copy when needed. So she's going to be bringing a lot of good perspective as well, just in terms of how design tweaks can impact response and those kinds of things. I mean, more than just tweaks. So the three of us will then be, and possibly you, Jason, maybe if you want to join in, and then also
Sure.
my other possible guest will do a discussion panel in the early afternoon about the top things that are working right now, with promotions, with offers, with maximizing average order, etc. And then we will end our day 2 mastermind with hot seats. And I still have a few hot seats left. So if you're one of the first 10 people to sign up, I've really just barely started promoting this. If you're one of the first 10 people to sign up, you'll be guaranteed a hot seat. And if we can do more, we'll do more. But then you can just use that time, that 10 or 15 minutes, to focus on a specific issue, maybe with your freelance business, or with, maybe something working with a client, or if you're a company, something going on with your marketing. and you can get all of our input, including also your fellow attendees, and walk away with strategies for that. And just P.S., like day one, the Copywriting Intensive, I will likely record. But day two, if I do any recording, it's only going to be for people who attended. So the only way to get day two is to actually be there in person. But we also have, and I think this is why Jason really wants to come, on the evening of day two, to cap everything off, we're going to have a 4-course Italian dinner in a private chef's kitchen. I saw your eyes light up when I said that. We're going to have extra food brought in for Jason. But yeah, and that's going to be with wine pairings. And my husband, who is a retired tech guy, thank God, because he fixed up this whole mess today. But he is now the grappa guy, and he's going to lead us through a grappa tasting. So it's going to just be an incredible couple days in Washington, D.C.
Nice. And I believe you've graciously agreed to allow me to give every single person who purchases through the link that's in the comments a copy of your famous tax hotline control that beat Paris's, right?
Absolutely.
And along with that, I'm going to give you a copy of Paris's control just so you can compare, which is always valuable to see what you did differently. And I'm also going to include a critique and interview that my late best friend Scott Haynes did with Paris back in the day. So there you go. The link is in the description.
This is the one to this. You're going to find out about the control, and it was considered an unbeatable control that Paris wrote. It mailed as their control for over 7 years, and many had tried to beat it. They had hired many copywriters to try to beat it. And so when I had my first big winner, which was actually with a financial newsletter, and I beat Jim Rutz, Brian Kurtz, who was at Boardroom, couldn't hire me fast enough. And he, previously had been like, whatever, but he was like, oh, you beat Jim Rutz, let's hire you. And so, I know. And so he, they gave me a chance to write a tax hotline promotion was the first one, and I ended up beating Paris's control. So you'll get the whole critique that Scott Haynes did on Paris's control, which is still a really great one to study. And then
Sure.
You'll also get my PDF. And did I give you? I told you how people. I gave it to you, right? I sent it to you.
Yes.
I remember.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yep. So you guys will get that from Jason.
And also, I forgot to mention, when you go to the comments and click on that link, make sure I put the code in the comments. It's Big Jason CV, and you'll get a $200 discount if they order by.
Well, here's the thing. To save the most, you've got to order by the end of the day, March 1st. Okay, which is Friday. So that's like 2 days. Because the price is going up after that. So you will save $200 off the price right now, which is the early bird price, but then that's going to go up by like $500. So it's going to make sense to, you'll get the most savings, obviously, if you do it by the end of the day, Friday. And you'll be much more likely to be able to get a hot seat.
Definitely.
Okay.
Another question I had, I think we have a few more minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I have like a good five minutes anyway. Yeah.
All right. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what else. There's 2 questions in there. Oh, I remember. I believe Matt had a question before we started. He was a decent, working copywriter. He got out of it, and he's trying to get back in. What would you recommend for him? He's like, I want to quit my crappy job. I want to come back to freelancing. I want to do X in the next 30 days. What would you say to him?
Okay, so I would say keep your day job and start moonlighting. And no, seriously, and then get yourself, established with somebody who's really happy with your work and negotiate a retainer arrangement so you can quit your job. So I will just say, I'm not going to rat anybody out, but I remember being at Phillips working there, and I knew of one copywriter in particular that this person, I will not even reveal gender, was, working on the side for companies and starting to write copy, and now this person has been a very successful copywriter for many years. And in my own story, it was because I fortunately met somebody who had a supplement business that was near where I lived. And this person was like, hey, would you want to work with us and do marketing and copywriting and this kind of stuff? And I said, well, let's do a retainer thing. And the retainer, it was only going to take half my time, but it guaranteed me 90% of my salary. And at that time, I was making like $100,000 a year plus bonus. And this was like back in 1998. And so I'm like, cool. So I was like guaranteed 90K, and I was only take half my time. And then I could take on other clients. And the first year I made 50% more.
Wow. Nice.
So that was what allowed me to walk away from, and plus also it helped that I had a husband who, I still have a husband, but like, he had great benefits and all that. So it wasn't like, oh, we're going to lose the benefits. And, and I'm appreciating that now because, now he's retired and we're paying huge amounts of money for health insurance. But yeah, so those are all the things. I mean, that's the real, unless you've got like some trust fund, and you're like, oh, you can just quit and go see if this works out. But most of us, that's not the case, right? So right. I would say just try reactivating some of those old clients, try to bring some new clients on and just kind of do it on the side and just hustle for a while until you can maybe get something that's a pretty regular setup and go from there.
Cool. Last question. I just thought of this, and it could be benefit to Matt and could be a benefit to a lot of young freelancers because, we're not going to mention any names, but the opposite of Matt's dilemma is, okay, he gets that one really good client. He wants to work with them a long time, and then the word starts getting out, and then Matt starts saying, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And he's got too much work, and then deliverables and timetables are getting missed, and excuses get ridiculous.
There's a very important word that you need to learn, and it's called no. And you need to learn how to say no, and sometimes it's hard, and that's a good problem to have. I think most writers would love to have that problem. But yeah, you have to set boundaries, and I will just throw this out too, and I'm glad you brought up this question. Because while that retainer deal can be great as a bridge from quitting the job and going out on your own, I find that it's not a good idea to keep all your eggs in one basket, right? Or two baskets. Mm-hmm. It is, think of it like an investment portfolio. Like what happened to people who invested only in Enron? I don't know if you guys remember Enron. It totally blew up. Like there were employees there that had like 90% of their investments in Enron. So you don't want to have 90% of your investments or your copywriting, income potentially coming from one client. You want to spread it out, and you want to, not get too dependent. You want people to know you're still out there kicking and taking on new clients because, if you do that, for too long or maybe too early, before you're well known, it's almost like you'd be starting all over again, in terms of trying to find new clients. And change is inevitable, no matter how solid you think the relationship is or how solid the company, things always change. So you have to be ready for that.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you very much. That was the 3 keys to taking your results to the next level. I appreciate it. And again, guys, the link is in the comments. Click on that. Make sure you use my code BigJasonCV for a $200 discount if you sign up by Friday. And there's still a chance to for the second day to get critique, right?
Well, the critiques everybody's going to get, it's the hot seats that are going to be at the end of the day. But yeah, it's going to be a great experience, and hope to see everybody there.
Definitely. We've never been to Washington, D.C., so we're looking forward to it.
Well, good. We'll be kind of tucked away in Georgetown, kind of away from all the politics and all the craziness. So it's a nice little, but still close enough to everything, to the airports, and definitely the cherry blossoms. So.
Definitely. Look forward to sharing Italy and food stories.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you, this place you're going to love. Really great food.
Yeah, I showed my wife. She's looking forward to it.
Okay, I bet she is. Yeah. Hope it meets your standards.
I'm sure it
will.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Thanks again, Kim. So much, Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, guys. Big Jason. So again, thanks to Kim. That's amazing when you get the chance to learn from an A-lister. As Dr. Flint McLaughlin of McLabs like to say, adequacy is the enemy of excellence. Actually, I think Peter Drucker said that Dr. Flint really likes it. So definitely, I already got my tickets, got my hotel reservations. Looking forward to joining Kim and Richard Armstrong. Guys, again, $200 discount if you sign up by this Friday. And you're going to get not only Kim's control that beat Paris's existing control for Tax Hotline, you're going to get the breakdown of Paris's control and an interview with Paris by my late friend Scott Haynes. So again, the link's in the description. Use my code BigJasonCV. I've never been to Washington, D.C., but I have met Kim in person in New York at another conference. Trust me, guys, it's going to blow you away. Let me know if you have any questions. Let Kim know if you have any questions in the comments below. And hope to see you in Washington.